I found an amazing border print, had a lot of fun placing it in really special ways along the hem, and today you'll see a top and dress pattern with an amazing neckline. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a top and a dress to share. It's really easy to go from a top to a dress because it's on the same pattern piece. The top is just shorter than the dress. There's no difference in the sewing, so that's good. The neckline is rounded up to here, and then it has a split neckline, a small V. I think that is super pretty, and that's finished with a facing on the inside. Very, very neat. The shoulders here are meant to fit the shoulders. It's not a drop shoulder style. It's meant to fit well. You have sleeves that can be short sleeves, regular short sleeves, hem normally, or you can have two types of 3/4 length sleeves. One of them will have a cuff that overlaps each other, ends up with a little V detail there, very pretty. The other one is just hemming your sleeve normally at 3/4, adding a tab inside, and then you would be able to fold it up. If you don't want to choose that option, I would say you have to be careful about your fabric choice, because when you fold up your hem, you're going to be able to see the wrong side of the fabric. So if it's especially ugly or you don't like it, I don't think you should use the fold up sleeve tab option. I think the cuff version would be better instead. That's the option I've chosen for one of my fabrics. The silhouette of the pattern is not super boxy, it's not super loose either. There is some shaping there, there is a center back seam. There are bust cup sizes which help you get an amazing fit here on the top part of the body. Bust start here, cup sizes A through to double D. Very helpful. The length of the top depends on your height, mid to full hip, and then the dress at the knee. If you are sewing the dress, you can have longer side seams, and then if you want to, you can sew inseam pockets there. These are the types of inseam pockets that are just going to be there hanging inside your thigh area and just moving around. I'm not a fan. They're not going to gape because you have a nice amount of ease at the hips, but I'm just not a fan of inseam pockets in general. The ones that I do sometimes sew are the ones that are anchored onto waist seams when there's a bodice seam, because then they're just really fixed in place and they don't move around. But that's not the case with this design. So I'm not sewing pockets here, but that's not a surprise if you know my style of sewing. Because the Vikos top and dress from Each to Stitch is a brand new pattern, it's going to be 20% off through Monday the 17th of March. So make sure you grab it while it's in a discounted price. I'll leave you my affiliate link at the top of the comment section, easy to find, and also in the description box. If you click on my link, it'll take you directly to the website and the page of the dress. If you end up purchasing, I do receive a small commission back from the designer. It's one of the ways I make an income creating helpful content here on YouTube all about sewing. So use my link, I'm super grateful. You need light to medium weight fabric for the Vikos top and dress. You don't actually need fabric that flows here. You don't have details like that or volume like that that requires it. It's just a personal preference. So you can go with more structured fabrics if you want an easier experience. Lightweight cottons, chambray, cotton lawn, poplin, sisaka, maybe a very light denim would work. And then you can choose flowier fabrics like 100% rayon. I would go with a little heavier rayon though, just because of the sheerness factor for the dress. So rayon twill would be good, rayon linen blend, some crepe, tencel twill would be good. For one of them, I've chosen a rayon crepe, which is a little heavier, totally not transparent. And for the other one, I've chosen a rayon 87%. 13% linen blend, which is amazing, and that is a double border print, which I'm really excited to share because it was so fun to find in my collection and then figure out how to cut the pieces. You need a little bit of fusible interfacing for the facings, the cuffs, and other details. I'm using a bit more because I'm interfacing the neckline a little bit more just to be on the safe side, so make sure you have some of that. If you love the content and it's helpful for your sewing, make sure you tap like on this video. It's the best way to let YouTube know that you love this content so they can promote my content more on the platform. It's really helpful for me. Like there takes a second and it really helps me out. Now the sizing goes from 0 to 40 US up to a 62-inch hip. Measure your high bust and your full bust, figure out what the difference is there, and you'll know what your sewing bust cup size is, so you can choose your adequate cup size for the pattern. From A through to double D, I have a 3-inch difference, so my sewing bust cup size is a C, and I'm very happy with that. As for the ease, you'll be very comfortable in here. You'll have enough space to move around your dress. It's not going to be fitted. It's not going to be super boxy either. At the bust, you're going to have around 4.5 inches of ease, at least for my size and my bust cup size. At the waist, around 8.5, and then at the hip, around 3.5. The sizes I've chosen are a size 12 with the C cup for all this top area. And then from the waist notch down, I have blended out to a 14. So I'm using 2 sizes here to blend my sizes, and I'm very happy with the result. I looked at the finished length measurements of the dress and I was very happy I didn't make any changes. You always find several shorten and lengthen lines here in each to stitch. You know, if you need to shorten the bodice area, you'll find one at this area, or you'll find a lower one down closer to the hem, so you can add or take away length where you need it for your body, because it's not the same for everyone. I found the fitting process very painless, very, very painless. I did not make a wearable or non-wearable test garment at all. I went straight to the good fabric. For the sewing, I'm going to share with you a small summary. I have the full detailed sew along on my Patreon page. For those who have access on the orchid tee, you can find it there. But let's see some practical aspects about putting this one together, a small summary for you. Check out this border print. So that is the selvage over there, and it's a double border print because we have the same on this other selvage here. And right in the middle, we have all of this brown paisley thing. I think it's really cool. So I'm planning on having the hem of the dress on that section. And because this is so long and I'm cutting cross grain, I'm going to have leftover on this side. So whatever left from this side is where I'm going to place the sleeves. The sleeves are only 3/4, so they're not that long. So at the sleeve cap, it's going to match the armhole, which is also going to be on the brown fabric. But towards the hem, we're going to be on this lovely printed side. The cuffs of the 3/4 length sleeve, I'm going to try to cut them out from this one so that they contrast the print here. I think it's going to be really fun to work with this fabric. This is the top of the front piece. This is a center front. So it's going to be on the fold up to a certain point, and then you can see the pattern piece goes in. And this is going to be a nice little detail on the front. It's going to be like a split detail there. I don't want to just rely on my rayon here. I know it's really flimsy, it can stretch out. I want to stabilize it. So as usual, I'm doing something extra that I think is going to be worth it. I've cut a bit of fusible interfacing, very lightweight. And I've just sort of eyeballed a size here to get all this section. Now there's a dot there. I want to get up to that area right there because we're going to be sewing there. So I want all of that stable, but I don't want this to be seen on the other side. There's going to be a facing finish, so I want my interfacing to be slightly smaller than that. So I'm just going to place my facing piece on top and just quickly draw something here so that I know to trim away a little bit more. So this is just a reference, you know. It doesn't matter how ugly this looks like on the inside. It doesn't have to be neat. It's just to stabilize. But I definitely want this piece of interfacing to be narrower than what the facing is going to be later. So I'm just going to eyeball this like that and definitely cut it within that line that I drew so that it will never be seen. So on my fabric, I'm going to mark where the interfacing should reach here on the top. So I get it centered. And I'm also going to mark the center here. This is the upper area that I just opened up the fabric. I'd marked with a pen these lines there, and that's going to help me put this top area. Make sure I have the glue side down there. And then over here I had marked the center of this bottom area. Get this fabric out of the way so that I'm ironing this in a single layer. Of course, this is a bit fiddly and something extra, but I think it's totally worth it. Now I'm going to feel so much better about sewing that tricky area, snipping it into the V, and just knowing that this is going to be much more stable than just my rayon. The facing is going to be interfaced, so my neckline is going to be nice and crisp, even though my fabric is really floppy. I'm back on the table. I've got this section interfaced. I put this back here, folded it properly, and now I can cut. And now all this area is going to be nice and stable. So look at that slant. It eventually reaches that fold. So that's where you need to start cutting here. Right there. And then around the neckline. And then this bit that I'd left on the shoulder seams. Ta-da! So it's going to look exactly like the pattern piece. No one's going to know, but we have a sneaky area that's interfaced there. No one's going to see it because it's going to be covered by the facing later. These are some small pieces from the Vikos top that you need to interface. So these are the cuffs. This is one of the options. So there's 2 of these that need to be interfaced and 2 of these that don't need to be interfaced. So I'm cutting the 2 interfaced layers right here. This is the front facing, which I've replicated to the other side so I can cut it in a single layer and not on the fold. I did the same with the back facing, and this is just one of the tabs. Block fusing as always, slightly larger piece already interfaced, and now I'm going to cut out all these pieces, and that ensures that they don't shrink or they don't change shape, and they end up exactly like they're supposed to be, the exact same size. 1 down, 3 to go. 2 main pieces on the table because they take up all the space. This is the back. The back does have a center back seam. There is shaping there, so it's not cut on the fold. That is the front over there. That one is cut on the fold. There are bust studs there. They're going to be different depending on what type of cup size you're sewing. That's the interface section of the front that I did as something extra. And you can see the print right there. You can see these pointy bits that go down and then pointy bits. I left a pointy bit right at the center in the front and the back right there, so that at the sides, it's going to semi-match up. It's not going to look too weird when I sew those seams right there. I'm so excited about this. And then the other little pieces, I'll show them next. These are all the other smaller pieces of the Vikos. That's the sleeve. It's a 3/4 length. There's also a shorter sleeve if you want to. There's a separate cut line for that. But there's no extra long sleeve right here. They're all 3/4 if you want it longer. Here are the cuff pieces. There are 4 pieces, 2 not interfaced, 2 interfaced. This is one sleeve tab. Here are the 2 facing pieces. This is the front. You can see that little slit right there. And that's the back. Here is our dress extended on the table. Shoulder seams right there, right sides up. This is the front where you have that little slit. So now I'm going to take the facing unit and put it on top like that. I'm going to take my time to match it all up. Okay, there's my hand basting. From these corners, I marked where I'm going to pivot, 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then I drew a line straight down to the point right there on both sides. That's going to help me sew it nice and neat. When I'm getting closer to this dot, I'm going to make my stitch length super little, around 2 or even 1.8. It's going to be easier to pivot at the right spot and also make it more stable right there. We need to snip into that later. There's going to be very little fabric left there. Okay, obviously the seam allowance is too huge to leave like this, so I'm going to trim it down in half. And then we're going to do some snips around the curved section of the neckline. Well, the whole neckline is curved. And then we're going to understitch. Now this V, we're going to keep snipping here. That's why I drew the red line, so that it's easier. And we're going to go close to the point, but not through it. Now I'm snipping every 3/8 of an inch or so, close to the seam line, but not through it. Okay, so the understitching is only going to happen around the round section, not through this little V section right here. So now we flip this like that, and fold that. Push the seam allowance underneath the facing, and we're going to sew right here on the edge. I'm at the ironing board with the neckline extended. There is the hand basting that I did to make sure that the seam was going to roll to the inside with my fingers. It's really not accessible for understitching there, so that is another alternative. So I'm going to press up to the shoulder seams right here, make sure everything's super flat here on the front. And while I have this right here on the table really flat, I'm going to hand baste it down so that it doesn't move and it doesn't wiggle and twist anywhere. Okay, so while this was here flat, I took the opportunity to hand baste all of this section right here. Big stitches, nothing fancy. I didn't use pins. This fabric from the ironing board is really thick, so it's not like I'm gonna sew this onto the ironing board. So now that I'm finished with the front and it's all flat, I'm just gonna leave my thread and then move this back so I can straighten out the back now, and then I can give this back area a press. I'm gonna baste from here to the center and then keep going. I'm gonna do it in sections so that I can ensure that this stays flat. I think this step is really important for the look of any garment that has a facing, is to keep the facing flat. Now we head over to the sewing machine and we top stitch it down. I'm doing it from the wrong sides up, and I'm using the inner section of the serged area as my guide. And this is my dress. This is the one I made first. You can see that the main fabric here is it's not that amazing. I mean, it's black and brown with like paisley details, I don't know, swirly things. The inside of the fabric is light because this was printed on. There is around the neckline with a little slit, the little V right there. But then it gets interesting because we get all of this going on. So I made sure to cut everything where the armhole and the sleeve cap area of the sleeve were going to end up in the black and brown area. And then we got the border print going down. This was actually the edge of the selvage. It means I cut my whole dress on the cross grain, which is not a worry. I have made a whole video talking about sewing on the cross grain. This is how it looks. You can do it sometimes. You just have to wash your fabric a few more times, that's all. So, I mean, that's what border prints are made for. It's for you to cut on the cross grain. So don't get upset or conflicted about doing that. It's okay. So that is the cuff right there. It's very beautiful. It's very easy to sew, and then it overlaps a little bit and you get this little V type of detail right there. I think it's very pretty, unique. I hadn't seen a cuff like this. Very easy to sew as well. Much easier than the traditional method. So that was nice to sew. And then on the front, we have bust darts here. You can barely see it. It does not disrupt the print. At the back, there is a center back seam. And then this is where I made sure I got the higher tops of the print right there in the middle, in the back and the front, so that I could match up the sides a little bit. And that's how the sides ended up looking. Very nice. I did do a hand hem over here. I thought by machine it was going to look awful. It's going to go through too many colors. I've turned it the other way so you can see. This is how the facing looks like on the inside. This is where the slit finishes, and then you have quite an amount of facing left over. It makes the neckline more stable in my opinion. All the interfacing I put in this area of the main dress is not visible. It's covered by interfacing, so that's amazing. And then I've got all my seams pressed open, serged. It is part of the instructions to do it that way. You actually serge everything before you even start sewing. So I love that because that's what I do in my own sewing. Rarely see it in patterns though. These are the cuffs, overlapped right there. Center back seam pressed open. Little bust dart, you can barely see it. It's very nice, very neat on the outside and on the inside. I like how it looks on the inside too. For styling, I'm focusing on the caramel color right there. It's the most neutral color, most toned down color. I wouldn't want to use accessories or other things that are with the other colors. The amount of those colors used in the print is too little, so I think from far away it would clash. So yeah, caramel it is right here. Let's see it on. It's beautiful. This is the type of dress I wouldn't want to wear something on top, a jacket or anything. I just want to wear the dress and show off the beautiful border print and how it looks. So let's see it on. This is my first Vikos dress from Itch to Stitch. I used an amazing double border print. Really interesting. You can see I've managed to place the higher parts of the print in the centers and sort of match the sides a little bit. Took a little bit of brain work to get that to make sense, and I have parts of the borders on the sleeves. I did cut the whole thing on a cross grain. This is a size 12 C cup blended to a 14 at the hips, all the original length. There's no changes made to the pattern for feet. At the back there is a center back seam for shaping, and close to the bust there's a side buster. My choice is the C cup option. At the end of the 3/4 length sleeves you can sew a cuff like this that's overlapped, very pretty, or you can just hem it normally and add a little sleeve tab. So there are options. You can also sew a short sleeve. Check out this beautiful neckline that's rounded with a little slit in the middle, a little V. It's all neatly finished inside with a facing. All that facing is top stitched down so nothing moves around while you're wearing the garment. There's a closer look at the V neckline. It's very neat. There's a lot of hand basting going on there to get everything to lie nice and flat. I'm very happy with how that looks, super clean. And on the side is my bust dart that was correctly placed for me. shoulder and sleeve fit, super comfortable, it fits at the shoulders. I'm very happy with this one and this original length. It's a little bit long, but I know that if I belt it, it'll end up being a little bit shorter. And of course, I'll show you how it looks like belted. But I love how it looks like this. I think it's not boxy at all. And the fabric helps as well because it flows nicely. Here is my Vikos dress belted. I used a nice brown belt, nothing too contrasting. There's a little bit of blousing that happens when you belt, and that's why dresses become a little bit shorter. I love that original length allows me to belt it without the dress becoming extremely short. So this is another option for me to wear it. If I end up wanting to use a jacket over it, I will definitely belt it. And there might be where I want to have a more defined waist area on my body. Otherwise, I'm very happy to wear it just loose as it is. But there you can see both options. My second one is Rayon crepe that was left over from lining my Isla trench coat. Beautiful. I had quite a bit left over, so I used it to make my second version. It's got the beautiful collar over here. I took my time to match the stripes or the checks on the side seams. You can see the red stripes, the white stripes, they all match right there up to a certain point, because then the bust dart distorts that. So you want to start matching from the bottom up, knowing that there's a bust dart there and it's going to get a little bit wonky here. But at least on the bottom part, it's matching, and that's on both sides. For the sleeve, I had an amount left over of the fabric where I couldn't really try to match anything because I just had a little bit left. So the sleeves don't match. So I couldn't match the sleeves. You know, I could have liked to have a red stripe going across the sleeve right there, but that wasn't going to happen. Also, these stripes on the fabric and the checks, they're not symmetrical at all. So they're not mirrored. So they weren't going to match anyway. That's what happened on the back. You can see the stripes get quite distorted here with that center back seam because these checks are not mirrored. So whatever happens that way does not happen this way. So I'm okay with that. That's fine. At least the checks match this way like that, which is what I tried to do. And that's what this one has the 3/4 length sleeve that's just hemmed up normally. It's got 2 folds there, so it's nice and neat, because this is going to be folded up, and then inside there's a tab. That's how that looks. Of course, I'm going to be folding that up nicely. I have a red button on purpose so that you can see it. Thought it was going to stand out more than a black button there. So I think that's cute and that's different. The reason I did that is because the wrong side of the fabric is not too different from the right side. So it's not going to look ugly, and that was my criteria for doing this type of option on the sleeve. So all the rest is the same. It's just a top. It's just shorter than the dress. All the construction was the same. I did this one thinking of my mom because she loves checks and stripes and things like that. I'm not that much of a fan, but I am a fan of this one because I like that it's mainly black and then the little checks are more subtle. So that's why I like it. You can see on the inside my facing is black. This is a rayon crepe. I used the rayon over here. I really couldn't cut my facings out of the fabric I had left over. So that's why I have a contrast facing on the inside, which you will never know. No one can see it from the outside, and it achieves the purpose of finishing off the neckline nice and beautiful. There is a sleeve tab sewn on the inside of the sleeve. It's super easy to follow. There's a little square on the pattern piece that you just need to mark on the wrong side of the fabric. When you're done with your strap, which is just a rectangle, you sew it, you turn it right sides out. You just sew it there on the top. There's nothing hard about doing the tab. And the instructions are beautiful. All the seams are pressed open, serged separately, which is part of the instructions. And I love how this turned out. Let's see it on. This is my Vikos top. It's exactly the same as the dress, just shorter. This is a size 12 C cup blended to a 14 at the hips. And this is a plaid with a black background and white and red. There is a center back seam that you can see with a distortion there of the plaid. And this time I have a different option for the sleeves that you'll see up closer. I do have the sleeve tabs, and I like this length at the mid hip. I think it's perfect, and there you can see the little stripes match on the sides. Took my time to do that, and it was a really fun project other than the cutting out, which took ages. There's a sleeve tab. I chose to use a red button so that it would stand out against most of the black right there. I could wear it loose or tie it up with a tab. I think I'm just going to let the sleeve drape there. It's nice flowy rayon. I don't really think I need to folded up officially several times. I think this looks nice as well. There is a look at this gorgeous neckline. I love the colors here. I think they suit me, and I interfaced that main section of the neckline on the main fabric as well as the facing, just as I did with the dress, and I love how it stands up there. Otherwise, rayon, you have the risk of this flopping down, which I didn't want to happen, so I'm happy I have extra interfacing there. Everything fits so well. That bust out, I'm very happy with the fit overall. It's just an amazing pattern, and I had a lot of fun sewing it. These three colors in the print are classics to me. I think this is a classic top that I could wear for many years to come, and it's never going to be in or out of trends and things that I don't really care about. I love it paired with the red Quebec skirt here, also from Itch to Stitch. Now I've got a nice casual look with a linen skirt. The linen skirt is slightly A-lined. I don't think the top is too boxy or too long for me to need to wear something too fitted on my bottoms like a pencil skirt. So I think the proportions here are okay for me. I love how this looks tucked out as well. Very nice, very comfortable, but I can also do a half tuck, which I also enjoy doing. I think that just gives you a little bit more of waist definition of where it actually is on the body at the height of it as well. So either way, I'm going to be happy to wear it like this. The black skirt was a no-brainer for me. It was not going to be wrong with this top at all. Now I do have a pair of bottoms that are fitted. It's denim jeans with a flare at the bottom, but fitted at the thighs and at the hips and waist. I think it's a very balanced look with the amount of ease that this top has. Exchange this for a denim pencil skirt would look very similar. I love the combination of these colors with the denim. Of course, denim goes with everything, but I love how this looks really nice and casual. And I know I can dress this up and down. I'll be happy with this one. I'm not a fan of plaids or checks that much, but this one really caught my eye, and I think it's really pretty for an exception in my wardrobe, because this is an exception. I really do love this new pattern. I wish I'd had time to make a third one with the short sleeves, you know, but it'll happen. It was not complex to sew at all. Once you get the fitting right and everything, your bust that correct, you know, I think you'll have a really great experience. The neckline is what will take you the longest. Just take your time, do the extra interfacing if you want to, but you will be very happy. It's very subtle, this top. It's very classic and I really love it. You can really make your fabric shine here, and I really enjoyed making mine. Don't forget to grab the Vikos top and dress, 20% off through Monday the 17th of March. That's all from me, and I'll see you soon with more sewing on this channel. Bye!